Five.
We're gonna go, and then we're gonna just make the announcement that we have a few council members running late. Oh, Kristen is here.
The parking lot was very full.
Well,
They're
Emmett's
having
not
the
coming.
transportation.
Emmett's not coming.
Yeah,
And
sorry.
Jenny's running late. Her meeting is running late. So we were just gonna, we
We're
just
gonna go live
decided we're
and
gonna live.
pause for 5 minutes for
And just tell them
everybody
that,
to
you
get.
know, we're waiting.
Yeah.
Waves are
Okay.
going out.
All
We're
right.
live.
Okay, let's go.
Yes, we're live.
Okay, they just said yes.
Recording in progress.
So go ahead.
Okay.
Hold on.
We're gonna wait for Kristen to get. Oh, I'm sorry.
Anywhere in the building?
I'm sorry.
Distraction.
Oh,
Do we just wait out and calm
What's his
down?
name?
Or Joel.
Joel.
come on, why not?
Recording stopped.
So, Mayor Pro Temp, we are live.
Okay.
Mayor's
Recording
unable
in
to make it,
progress.
and we have two other council members that are delayed, but we are live.
Yeah, apologies for the delay, everybody. There was not many spaces in the parking lot tonight, so I had to park further away than I anticipated. So welcome, everybody. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Kristen Weaver, filling in for the mayor who's not available this evening. If my colleagues who are here want to introduce themselves.
Danielle McKinney, council member.
Silky Pope, council member.
Council member.
And yeah, I'm sure we'll have others who are running a little bit late coming in. So this is a work session of the Greenbelt City Council. We hold these work sessions to get information and meet with stakeholders. This evening we are in one of our, I think this is our last budget work session before the final review. So we're sort of saving the best for last with Greenridge House. So we're happy to have our Greenridge House folks in here this evening. So we'll be going through that section of the budget this evening. For those who are in the room, if you have a question, you can raise your hand and be recognized. If you're online, you can put a question in the Q&A or raise your virtual hand and we'll recognize you. And if you're watching on cable TV or on Zoom, you can send an email to questions@greenbeltmd.gov. For comments, we do ask that you try to keep your comments short and to the point and be kind and gentle and neighborly in your comments. And I think we only have one topic for this evening, Greenridge House, so I think we can wait to the end for any public comment or questions that we have. And yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to the city manager, Josue Samaron, and Bertha Gaiman, our finance director. And then we also have Shania Lashley Mullen, and I think Jamari probably in the back running things. So thank you to the staff that always keep us going. And Crystal, we'll get started if there's anything, or do you want to tee anything up, or should we just?
We're excited to be here in this last, well, at least for the individual budgets work session. We've had several meetings about projects at Greenridge House, and the property and the programs just continue to do great. And the highlights that I'll point out in this budget is that Ms. Potts has done a great job in coordinating with the team and coordinating the budget to ensure that we continue service delivery without raising rates at the property. So that's a major highlight. And the property, with its continuing increase in cost, is cash flow positive. So it is self-sustainable.
Right. You want to introduce yourselves? I mean, I think we know you, but there may be people watching who don't.
My name is Crystal Beatty. I'm the Community Resource Advocate for the City of Greenbelt, as well as the liaison for Greenridge House.
And I'm Kim Potts.
Move that microphone a little closer.
I'm Kim Potts. I'm the Community Director and HUD Specialist for Greenridge House.
And so I guess maybe it looked like there were a number of things, and I guess maybe we do have a few. I guess Jenny's not here yet, but maybe for some of our newer council members, maybe we can put up the organizational chart and talk a little bit about just the general structure of how Greenridge House. You can explain a little bit about how you're set up and how that works.
Sorry, I think Greenridge House
That's
just got
who runs the
connected.
show, right?
Second, I thought it was my screen. I said, oh.
Green Ridge House. So.
Puppy.
It looks like if I can, Shania, I can do it if it's, I've got it up here. It looks like it's selecting the wrong thing.
I think they might be casting
Okay.
from a phone.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think they're
the phone.
casting because they were
Casting from
having
their
an
phone.
issue.
Okay.
So we're having a watch party over there.
Okay.
So we have a watch party with the residents, and my assistant Patty is over there if anybody has any questions, and we were having trouble
Okay.
getting connected to the TV. So I think that's what that was.
Tim, we have Steve joining us from
He's the property manager.
Property Manager.
Okay, and he's online, great.
So he's also part of the Green Ridge team.
Welcome. So yeah, if you can just sort of explain a little bit about the structure and maybe a little bit of an overview of Greenridge House.
So Green Ridge House is a senior community for 62 and over that is HUD subsidized. It's Section 8202. We do have a few residents under 62 that were grandfathered in back in 2018 when we changed over to all seniors 62 and over. So the property manager, so city manager, then Crystal, obviously. Service coordinator is Flora, who couldn't be with us tonight. She's got other commitments. Property manager, who is Steve Say, who is online. And then myself, my assistant, Patty Ramsberg, and then my engineers, Mark Cooper and Gus. And I can never say his name right, so.
And it looks
Jose
like,
could probably say it. It's URRITUA, Uria. URRITIUA, I think something like that. Uridia. But Gus, he
Tia,
lives there.
Your Tia, okay.
Yeah,
Good.
he lives there. And so I live on site. Gus lives on site. Residents can reach out to us. We're both there pretty much, a lot of the time. I'm there during the week. Most of the time, the weekends, I kind of see my family and stuff. So I go visit them. But it works out very, very well. People know they can come up, bang on our doors if they need something. And we're there for them really no matter the time of day or night, because I was just woke up after my surgery at 2 a.m. in the morning with an emergency. So with a walker down the hall, I went.
dedication. I'm sure that the residents appreciate having you so close to close
They're-
access. Although hopefully you don't get too many at that time of night.
Not too many, but they know that I'm there if they need me.
And it looks like Stephen is just listed as an attendee. Maybe we can promote him to be a panelist so that if he needs to say anything. And Jenny, welcome. So it looks like we're still waiting for Rodney, and Emmett is not going to make it this evening. So welcome. We're all feeling a little flustered because I don't know about you. I couldn't find a parking spot out there. There's nowhere.
It's going to be the most well-attended budget works. Like, is the Greenridge House way hot topic that I had no idea about?
I assume they're all over at Ingrid Watson's event. Isn't that here?
That might be true.
I think that's what's happening right now, and I suspect that may be drawing more audience than we are.
They're not here, that's for sure.
Yeah. Joel?
All right.
Joel, we're in the middle of the meeting.
Okay, Joel. All right, just go
Thank you.
listen, okay? Thank you.
So if we can,
Not right now. Not right now, though.
we're gonna do resident comment at the end, Joel. Okay?
I'm not a resident, I wouldn't wanna live there, I get
Okay,
kicked out
okay,
by the-
shh,
Okay.
shh, okay, okay.
Just be patient. We'll do
Enough.
input later.
Enough.
So if we can scroll down, because it looked like there were quite a few accomplishments that you had there. So I guess some of this is the issues and services. We talked about some of those things, just the structure. But yeah, any particular accomplishments you'd like to highlight from this list?
Well, the roof was completed, and that was very, very major. It needed to be done. They had to replace a few areas of the plywood and stuff, so because the roof was sagging a little. So that's been a huge, huge upgrade. New gutters, new downspouts and everything really makes it efficient and really nice. The look is really good. Got the new lobby furniture, which when you first enter the building, so that looks really good. The other stuff was getting kind of old and kind of worn. We replaced the gym floor with a gym floor instead of carpet. So, yeah, so it's got like the actual gym floor now, so that if there's a spot that goes bad or gets chipped or something, we can actually take that, that section up and replace it with another section, so you don't have to take the whole floor up. Yeah, so that worked out really well, and it seems to be doing pretty good. Got new TVs, great price on those. The perimeter fencing, which runs between the townhouses, when you're looking at Green Ridge on the left-hand side, there is a double fence that was put in, I guess, years ago. We never knew whose fence it was, but nobody wanted to take responsibility for it. So I just called GHI and said, look, you just own it and I will take responsibility for it, because we get written up for it through REAC. And so they said, you can have it. So I took it. And so in the storms last year, we had a huge tree fall from the middle part and just crushed a huge section of it. So we had to have that replaced. So that was done. And then on the right side of the property, down by the dumpsters, we had a split rail that was falling apart from snow and from plows running into it. So I had that completely removed and had another fence put in. Did a great job. Looks awesome. Looks really clean, tight. So it looks really nice. We're in the process of getting the faucet in the greenhouse and stuff. We're waiting on our contractor. He's got all the supplies. He just has to get over there and get that done. We did add a couple additional security cameras due to some of the issues that we've had with the homeless getting in and the drunk out in front and the stolen car being dumped at Green Ridge House. So I did get all of my entries and accesses are not covered at this point. That is in my budget, but these two did give me 2 other sites of the parking lot. So I have a little bit better view and can rewind the camera and look at those areas a little bit better.
So are you planning on getting the other cameras by the doors?
I've
installed
got it in the
in
budget,
this
yes.
in this
It
budget
is in this
year?
budget.
Mhm. Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you.
Is it a secured entrance is it a secured entrance with like key cards and things like that? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
So-
It is key card access.
But it is always a problem with somebody letting somebody in behind them. I think that's a problem many places where it's,
And, people
Humans
follow
can-
people in.
right. Humans can be the weakest link in those security systems a lot of the time. Yes.
I want to give some context to the additional cameras. This is a compliance requirement for the county, so.
Yes.
we
Oh,
have
is
to-
that
yes.
related? That's related to the, is that related to the county bill requiring for multifamily? Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, so
Yes.
you have to have it done.
I have to have it
It's a
done.
must.
It's a must.
It's not like a. Okay. Good.
Yeah, I'm not going to beat the deadline, but I don't think they're going to track us down or anything. But it'll be, it'll be done sometime after July.
We've demonstrated good intention, good
Yes.
effort to do this. It's a costly endeavor, and I doubt that the majority or the average property owners are going to be able to meet the deadline.
Yeah.
I think
The infrastructure is not there with Green Ridge House. So Green Ridge House is not, it's 5 years old, 46 years old. And we have to have all the lines dropped from the 3rd floor all the way down.
Yeah.
It's always easy to say, put some cameras up and so it's said very easily, but I think in reality,
It's
without
a
having
big
the
thing.
newer infrastructure in place, nowadays that is just not as easy.
Joel.
Not feasible.
Cameras is one of the problems in my bedroom. They can put them in.
Joel, that's
we're going to
enough.
do public comment at the end because we're only covering one topic.
Danielle had
Yeah, go ahead.
Just going back to just the overview in the structure. The building has 101 units. How many residents do you actually have, and what are the unit types? Are they all 1 bedroom or are they 2? Okay.
All 1 bedroom, 485 square feet. We have some that are semi-handicapped, some that are handicapped. 99 of them are occupied by residents. I occupy one. Gus occupies one. We only have a few couples. I'm trying to think right off the top of my head, and I'm only thinking of one. I don't think so, because we had. Sorry. I don't think it's that many anymore.
Okay.
We've
So
had
the
a few.
majority are single occupied.
Yes, most of them are single occupied. I have one right off the top of my head that I can think of is a married couple.
So it's right, so right around 100 then.
Right
if it's-
around
yeah.
100, 101, something like, yeah.
So it's fully occupied.
It is, we have a waiting list. So like currently I have a couple of vacants, but they're considered non-revenue units because I've already rented them. People haven't moved in. So they are just considered non-rev.
Just one more follow-up question. Has there been any additional requests for additional units to be more handicap accessible than what you currently have?
No, that
Okay.
would be a very hard undertaking that would cost a gazillion dollars to make possible.
How many units do you have that are handicapped accessible or semi?
There are 11.
Okay, so it's about 10%.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the accomplishments or anything? And it actually occurs to me that I'm not sure that I have ever gotten a full tour of Greenridge House. So that could be something, because I think when I came on council, it was full on pandemic. And so that might be something, not an urgency, because I know we have some other things that some other tours and things we were going to set up, but that might be something that would be nice to do later on. And that could also be an opportunity to set up something to talk to some of the residents, because it's also my understanding that prior to the pandemic, this session was usually held at Greenridge House. And so it also served as a bit of a meet and greet,
Right.
which, we might think about. One of the suggestions I was going to make tonight was that maybe we should think about whether the budget session should be separated from a specific meet and greet with Greenridge House, that we talk about the budget as the budget, but then we do something where we go and, have an event for council to talk to the residents.
Right, yeah. No, totally. Just contact me and I'll be happy to show you around. We can set something up and have the whole council over and everything. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the meetings before were videotaped. We don't have the capability to go live or to do anything like that.
Right. Well, and that's a good reason to separate the two things, to have the budget sessions here where we can easily do the broadcast like we usually do, but then do a meet and greet that's focused on talking to residents. That still is, of course, an open meeting, but it doesn't need to be broadcast on Facebook if it's a meet and greet for the Greenridge House
Right,
residents.
yeah.
It's just, an open meeting.
But you usually do have some, I know in the summertime, like a little barbecue and,
Yeah, I
right,
was
or
going to
craft
say, but I
feast
wasn't
or
going to say
something.
it publicly because my residents don't know yet, but I'll send
I
out
said you
something.
usually do. You usually do.
You can send us the details.
Send you the details about something that's happening this summer, and then everybody can RSVP to me.
That's good.
Crystal knows what it is.
So I think we can move on to the budget sections unless there are other questions about those pages. I noticed on this first one, it looks like your vacancy, was this the one? Yeah, the vacancy loss rate, it looks like, is down a little bit compared to 2022, and even from the budgeted for this year. I think that seems like that ought to be a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing, for sure. Yeah.
And also, I was noticing I guess it was on the next page. Any questions about the revenues?
Just curious, you have laundry income. Is that outsourced or do you do that on property? Because there also looks like there's a little variation.
It's
And
outsourced.
It's outsourced. Okay.
It's on the property, but it's, we have to rent the machines and stuff.
It has the cost for that outsourcing gone up?
I'm very, very fortunate. We have a great company, and we were like at 50 cents since Greenridge House was built. And our machines finally started dying, and we had to upgrade. And we were able to work with our contractor, and he only took it up to $1.
Wow.
So, and then I think in 3 years it'll go up to or maybe $1.25. He'll go up to like $1.50. So, and then it's like 3 years. So they've been really, really good with us.
It's one of the things I pointed out during my wonderful tour. I got an amazing tour, which will make sure that you get an amazing tour as well. That there's a concerted effort to maintain low cost laundry. It's, we're talking about individuals on fixed income, and for $1, they can have a load done.
That's great.
And we did get to upgrade them also. So we got like the key cards. They don't have to have cash anymore.
Quarters.
No quarters. So they have the machine there, and I have it in there, and they just put it on the card. So it works out really good. And then we have the cards that we can issue to them. So we don't have to get a hold of the contractor and wait. We Patty actually has the cards and she distributes them when somebody needs them.
You have the app too for the phone where it tells you your laundry's done and everything? No. But there, I know, we have them in Charlestown Village.
Rate the load, a dollar load.
Okay, okay. All right, nope.
And so it
No
looks
option.
like, overall, it looks like rental revenue is increased, but it is subsidized. So that there has been some increase since 2022, but it is not, probably, I'm sure not increasing as much, the rent as much as in a market rate.
So, yeah, it does not. So what happens is I have a new CA actually at HUD and DHCD that I need to reach out to because she's not exactly on the same timeline that we need to be on with our budgets and stuff. We did decline a rent increase this year due to the COLA increase that the residents received through Social Security. Because of that COLA, everybody's rent went up. And I have no control over that because it automatically is 30% of the income. So we declined an increase because I didn't want to increase on top of an increase because that just hurts people. And I don't, we just don't need that. So we declined the increase this year. I normally only do increases every 3 years. And so next year will be an increase year.
So the income for us doesn't change for the
Right.
property, but since folks are paying a percentage of their property, of their income.
Yeah.
We see an increase.
Any other questions on the revenues page?
I just had a question about the interest income. That number has jumped around a lot, and then it's back up to 29 for the proposed for 2025.
Steve?
Oh, Steve.
Hello, I'm here.
Can you answer
all
that
hear-
about the interest?
Interest rates have increased, with the inflation that we're experiencing. And we're projecting this, based on what we're seeing present.
But if it's so much lower in 2024 than you had planned on, then why is it back up for 2025?
Looking at interest rates now, interest rate other. Interest rates, 2022, interest rates other, 1,200. 2023 actual, 43,000. 2024 budgeted at 29, estimated at 11, and then projected for 2025 at 29,000. And again, it's because of the the interest rates that we're seeing now. Just project higher than in years past.
Any other?
If I may add a little more context, we have a healthy cash balance for Greenridge House. I don't have the number in front of me, but I believe it's over $1 million.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So the interest is going to be based on that cash. Yeah.
That high number makes this
Yes.
high number
Yeah,
make a lot more
yeah.
sense. Thank you for that context.
Any other questions about revenue? So then we've got the expenses are, I think, the next 2 pages. A couple of things that I noticed, it looked like you, on a number of these, it looked like you actually came in under your estimated budget. I think I noticed that looked like maintenance and service contracts were both under, and I think most service contracts except trash. So that seemed good. And then I guess the one that was, I think I noticed one that, the expenses I assume for, I'm trying to remember where that was. There was one that was a pretty high amount for the,
Miscellaneous operating expense?
yeah. So but it seems like generally things came in under the budget in terms of expenses. Anything notable to point out?
Kim, if we can talk about your strategy of taking on the additional outsourced labor to reduce your cost elsewhere.
Sure. So we decided, we had a contractor who was doing all of our painting, drywall, anytime we had an apartment turnover, anytime we needed an apartment painted, it was all outsourced. And he was there so much, and we needed other things done, like the hallways and stuff, but we were letting those go because trying to get him out there was just, more money and more money. And So I talked with his contractor and we worked up an agreement and we brought on Edgar as a full-time contract.
Okay.
So he is at Green Ridge House every day, and he does everything. He does a lot more than painting. I really can't say enough about how much he does. He is outside 2 or 3 times a day, picking up trash, sweeping the parking lot, making sure that everything looks tidy and nice. But he does all of our turnovers. He does all of my leaks. We just had a leak yesterday, and he was already on it this morning. Making sure it was drying up and everything. He does all of the apartments who need to be painted, who have damage or who have run into the wall with a wheelchair or put a hole in it by accident. He's on top of all of that. Not to mention the fact that he does, like I said, a lot of other things that are not in painting. He goes around and cleans all of the light lenses and stuff to make sure there's not bugs in them and that the place just looks really presentable. When you walk in, he helps when one of my guys is off on vacation. There were things that they couldn't do by themselves, like lifting up a microwave is very difficult to install by yourself. I mean, the guys could do it, but it does take some serious strength. And so now there's Edgar there, so we don't have to postpone putting in somebody's microwave for a week because Edgar's there to help and is able to help do minor maintenance things. With my guys, with my engineers.
But it looks like, so where does that fall under the service contracts, or where is
It's actually split, and I don't have, I think, what you all are looking at. I actually have my budget. So I was never sent that, so I don't have that. Steve, do you remember the 2 categories that I split him up in?
There was the painting, I believe.
The what?
Common area painting.
Common
I
area
believe.
painting.
And I just don't recall the other.
I think it's supplies. I
Yep.
think I did some kind of supplies. So I split it up between 2 different categories to cover the costs.
But regardless, it looks like the adopted for 24 was 152, and it came in estimated at 123. And I mean, I just am noticing that these things, and total maintenance 120 budgeted and came in at 97. So both well under, which is, I think, that's great. Yeah, it seems like it's working. I guess one question I noticed we've heard from, we were meeting with some of the HOAs and condo associations last week, and insurance is a concern for them and the increased cost of insurance, but it doesn't look like you're increasing the budgeted amount for insurance a huge amount. I mean, there's some increase, but is that something that you're concerned about in terms of, we just hear a lot of increased insurance costs in lots of different
That's a
venues.
Steve question. Steve?
I don't believe that we have any cause for concern there. We did take an increase a couple of years ago. And that was mainly due to some of the claims that we had for insurance. The HVAC system that needed to be taken care of. So yeah, no, we had an increase sometime back, like maybe 2 years ago. And it's held pretty steady since then. So there's really no cause for concern. I don't think.
Okay. That's good to hear. I mean, that is, since we have been hearing that from other folks. I think,
Just to go back real quick.
Yeah.
It's painting, public space, and apartment painting is where we split it.
okay, and I know, now that I look at it, the apartment painting is higher than estimated than adopted, so that makes sense. But still seems like saving money clearly overall.
And with the extra work too.
So
And
I think,
while our stabilized expenses that include, administrative expenses, payroll, utilities, service contracts, insurance, maintenance, turnover costs, taxes and reserves, those stabilized expenses, while you see they fluctuate, a lot of them have built-in contingencies that we may or may not utilize. So that's one of the reasons you see some fluctuation throughout the stabilized expenses.
okay. And I think if we scroll down tonight to the bottom of page 270, then the capital expenditures. So it looks like, oh, sorry. Let me make my comment and then if Danielle is, but so that 101, so that's the building improvements. It seems like because you did so many things this year, but then next year it's down to 10,000. So it's because you've gotten a lot of these improvements out of the way and it doesn't sound like you have as many more new things to do.
Correct, for building improvements, yes.
Yeah. Danielle.
Can you talk a little bit about the fluctuations in the 401k expense?
Dave?
Let me bring it up here.
Looks like you're budgeting at one, but then what actually is the actual ends up being a bit lower.
Which page is that on,
This
Danielle?
is on 268 under payroll, section 4 payroll.
The 401k contribution match.
So the employer
expenses.
401k expense and then the
Yes.
match.
At 400 for the expense and then 5,000 for the match.
Mm-hmm.
There's really not much of a fluctuation there that I see. It looks like the match in 2022 was 4885 and we're projecting for the 2024 fiscal year 5,000. And then as far as the 401k expense, we had projected 36 or 360 and projected at 400. So I don't really.
Steve,
see
I
much
think
of a-
it sounds like there may be, I think that this may be let's call it a consequence of the new budgeting, like the budget document process, I'm suspecting.
Take that. I'll take that. Thank you. But yes, I need to drop it down one line. That's
Gotcha. It's like that's not adding up.
Yep.
Okay.
I think, so you may be looking at, so I think we just have some misalignment of the lines.
exactly. And I apologize, Steve.
That could be.
The
That could be.
temporary
Yes,
part
I'm
is zero.
I'm reading off of what I have
Right.
prepared.
He's reading off the same
Yeah,
thing
I
that
think,
have.
so it's just a discrepancy between your documents, and so we'll get that fixed.
Get it fixed.
Okay, very good. Yep.
Yeah, Silky.
Okay.
Just needs to line up. You're right.
A few question. I see computer services are going to go up. So are you buying new equipment?
That's, if you want to wait.
Computer
until we get to
services
capital.
has a lot to do with software allocations, where CRC takes on certain property management software, such as Yardi, RealPage, that Kim utilizes quite a bit, Avid Bill Pay, and as part of our management agreement, it's something that is allocated proportionately to all of the properties that we manage.
Great, that sounds good. How about computer services? I'm still hawking in it. Social activities. Are you planning additional social activities
Kimmy?
now that we're out of COVID?
Not necessarily more. We are doing more stuff in-house. We have worked with Crystal and with the rec center, and we don't have enough participation to rent a bus. It's just not cost effective. I mean, you get 10 people to go and you have to pay, $1,600 for a bus. It's just not cost effective. So we have set up a plan with the rec center, and all of the residents are going on trips with the rec center now.
I think that's wonderful. That's great. It's just we're in a pickle because we need to have a bigger bus because we have so many, so much interest now in these upcoming bus trips, and really we can only accommodate, what was it, 12? I want to say 15. So we really need to look into getting a bigger bus or having,
Party bus kind of
well,
size.
we need to do something. And I agree with you. Those
Yeah, it's on the agenda for Monday.
those
On the agenda
regular
for
travel,
Monday.
but they're very, very expensive.
Expensive.
Very
and,
expensive.
And the problem
yes.
is, you get 20 residents that say, yes, we're going to go. By the time the trip comes, 10 of them have backed out. So then you're left with 10 people. And then you're spending all that money for 10 people. And it's just a little mind blowing. And I can't waste money like that.
You want to give us a preview of Monday?
Sure. So
Exciting news.
We're really excited. Council tasked us with finding an electric bus and had set aside some money for an electric bus. And we've been hard at it looking for an electric bus, and we just can't find one at that price point. However, we did find one for 125, and the specs are great, and it helps us resolve two issues almost immediately. We can buy the vehicle by next week, and that is to get a 15-passenger bus that would serve the seniors and immediately address the concern that Ms. Pope has brought up and other seniors have discussed here at council, while also creating a backup bus for City Connector. So that item is on the council agenda. I hope that we can squeeze that in for next meeting so that we can order that bus.
Well, I'm not here, but I'm definitely for it, right? So, I mean, I may not be here. I'm not
Okay.
going to jinx it, but I may
All right,
not
so
be here
we'll
Monday. so.
note your strong support for it.
Did you say 15 or 50?
It's a 15-passenger bus. So it's 12 regular seats, 2 wheelchair seats plus the driver. That makes it a 15-passenger.
And I think the reason behind not doing a larger bus is that then it requires a commercial driver's license. So that's the reasoning behind, if we had a bigger bus, we might not have anybody who could drive it. So that doesn't
Yeah, but now you have
We
two.
have two, so we
then you
still
could-
can, that doubles the
Right.
capacity
Yeah.
to transport
Which is nice.
people, which is
Yeah.
great, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Now,
Quite a few of our public works service levels to have a CDL.
correct, yes. And we are all of our drivers, anyone who drives the bus is trained to drive the bus. And the vast majority of them will have a CDL. And we have an incentive pay structure that we pay an incentive to our drivers that have CDLs. So we encourage them to get CDL. We support their training.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much.
So I think that's sort of the pages. And are there other questions? Anything else you want to highlight, or other questions about the expenses? Jen?
I don't know if you wanted to go over the capital expenses we have planned for.
That was, I was going to ask about that. So,
So, our KeyTrack computer and software needed to be upgraded last year. It's about 20 years old. So I went and got proposals from them. And so we're going to be upgrading the KeyTrack, which is a KeyTrack system. It's where all the keys are located. We don't have a master key for Greenridge House. So you have to come in, you have to log into the computer, you have to click what apartment, and then it will give you the key, and it logs in who checks it out, when they checked it out, when it comes back in, and everything. So we can monitor where everything goes. So we're going to be upgrading that system, upgrading the cameras for the property, throughout the property entirety, inside and outside. We're going to get all access points covered, all hallways covered, all lobbies covered. So we will be in code and be able to track everything. It's one of the things when we had the problem with some people breaking into Greenridge House, that we could not track them throughout the whole property. I couldn't find them because I don't have cameras everywhere. So this will allow me to follow them and be able to show the police where they went and everything.
Actually, before you make, because that reminded me of a question I wanted to ask earlier about the cameras. Are the cameras connected to the police system? Okay, so your cameras are on your own system. Okay.
Yes. So that will be done. We're going to be building a pergola out front in the seating area. Yeah, a lot of our residents sit out there. It's in the direct sun and it gets really hot. So we've looked at umbrellas. My maintenance man was very concerned about wind and blowing them over and causing it to hit the building and break glass and stuff. And so Patty actually came up with the idea about a pergola, and we looked into it. We got a great price with the same people that put the fence up. Really responsible. They're super clean about everything. So we're going to be having that installed and probably get some wisteria growing up there in the front.
Well, there you go. Wisteria
It'll be
Lane.
nice. One of the things that I really want to try to do and offer as an amenity to my residents is Wi-Fi. I want to get the Wi-Fi upgraded. I want to have it throughout the entire building, and I'd like to offer it as an amenity. There are situations that I've become aware of that residents are not paying certain things because they need to pay for their Wi-Fi because they need to order their medication. And yes, they've worked with Flora, and some of them still are having issues. And I don't think that in today's time that should be an issue.
So, yeah, it is. It's basically a utility, or I think there's many people who are starting to think of it that way, as it's something that is as necessary as water and electricity to a certain extent.
And so I really want to be able to get the building Wi-Fi. Again, we have to drop cables and do all that because the infrastructure is not there. So it does cost us a bit of money because we have to make it ready. And then we'll try to work with Comcast. They are not the easiest people to work with, but we will see what we can do. Crystal and I have tried in the past. It did not work out, but we will try to do it again to see if we can offer something for the residents. But I do want to get the Wi-Fi throughout the whole building and be able to offer it as an amenity. I think it's important.
And are you capturing that as an expenditure here?
It's a capital expenditure. Yeah, it's the last page. Well, and I don't know what page it is on yours.
70.
And where is it located?
So does that?
Common area renovation?
Yeah.
Okay, thank
The
you.
114. 114.
So I guess, yeah, and that's, so what was the highest area for this year was the building improvements. The highest area for next year is the common area improvements. Common area renovations, okay.
And that's building improvements, roof, HVAC versus common area renovation, which Kim just went over.
Yeah.
And can I just ask about your elevators? All the elevator,
They're all upgraded. They're
All
all
upgraded. 'Cause-
done. We are changing elevator companies this year.
Okay.
I am changing. I think I've got a much better program with a new company who's going to be more on top of things and going to be doing regular maintenance, which I've had a problem with our current.
Okay, great.
We're going to be upgrading our office, which I'm not looking forward to, but we're going to get new flooring, new furniture. Our furniture I bought 17 years ago when I started here. So we're going to get new furniture. We're going to get new flooring. We're going to get our office painted and kind of get it back and looking nice because
Nice.
it hasn't had anything done in a long time.
Pressure.
Yes, a refresher. And then we are going to get 12 new folding tables for the dining room because we need them because ours are breaking and they're probably 45 years old.
That is a pretty elderly folding table.
They are old.
Yeah.
So they're falling apart and slowly one by one they're all dying and we're having to put them in the trash. So we're going to get new folding tables. We use them a lot. We use them for functions. When we do the omelet guys, they set up the tables on them and cook the food on them and stuff. So we really need them. So we're going to get some of those to upgrade.
And Crystal, you also sent us the survey summary. And I don't think we need to go through that page by page, but it seemed like in general, very high rates of satisfactory or very satisfied or very satisfied. Anything key takeaways from that you wanted to highlight?
I think that the residents sort of have said it all, that they're very pleased with both the environment as well as the staff. Everything from their responsiveness to service requests to, I have to admit, Flora continues to lead the pack with her 99% satisfaction rate. So Flora Lee, who is the service coordinator there, I think that it's extremely important. Each year we give the residents the chance to give their feedback, and we really, we read and look at each one. So we encourage them to continue to participate. The percentage is very high. 70% is a really good
Yeah,
number.
that's good. That's a good response rate.
So we'd like to see the other 30%, kick in and give their feedback as well. But so Kim and her staff are doing a great job and can't ask for more.
Yeah, congratulations. No, it was really good. Yeah.
I mean, if there's the possibility of having help at any hour, that sounds like that's
With her walker, yes.
Don't need that now.
No, yeah. Any other questions? I don't see any hands raised online. Looks like we have. Joel, can you keep it appropriate?
Yes, ma'am. I just want to ask. I didn't catch. Is she the gentle lady that my sister refers to as Kim?
Who's your sister?
Molly Rubenstein.
Oh, yes.
Well,
I'm the
I
manager.
apologize. It seems like June 9th or 10th Friday 2 years ago. When I'm in that Greenridge house and in the vicinity, my behavior will be perfect in the future.
Okay.
I have nothing relevant to say.
Thank you. Good night, Joel.
Thank
There you go. That's how we like you.
Wow.
Yeah,
Thank
that
you.
was nice.
Mr. Orleans.
Yeah, let's just be yourself, dude. Okay.
I have questions tonight that I've asked in the past. I don't fully understand, never have, some of the city of Greenbelt's relationship with the community realty company. But to begin with, I have a specific question. When I heard Steve speak for the first time, I had not heard him introduced. What is Steve's last name and what is his role?
His last name is Say.
My name is Steve.
Jay,
Say. S-E-H, Say.
S-E-H. And what is his role?
He's the property manager.
Thank you. I have asked in the past, when we've had a different set of numbers when we were meeting over there that were presented. Actually, I thought I remember their own PowerPoint, but I may be not remembering that correctly. But I've asked in the past about the nature of our relationship with community realty. We contract with them, the city. I've never seen a copy of that contract, and I've inquired, although I've never filed a public information request. I don't think it should be necessary. Their budget includes Greenridge House's budget, reviewed by council tonight, includes $79,000 projected for this fiscal year, $79,200. I presume that's not what we pay them to contract. What are the management fees in addition to what we pay them to operate Greenridge House? Further down the same line, section 3, miscellaneous administrative expenses. Fiscal year 29 projected to be $71,900. Not a great variance from prior years, but I've asked in the past, in addition to the contract fees which they get, and in addition to the management fees they get, what additional miscellaneous administrative expenses are they required to have this much money allocated for in the budget? The same question would apply to some of these other administrative and service lines here, but I won't ask them now. On page 269, administrative, oh no, that was page 268. Excuse me, on page 269, insurance. I'm just curious. I don't think I've ever seen an entry for multi-peril insurance in addition to the other necessary insurance payments. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I've missed it over the years. But in anybody's budget, I've never seen, in cities or unions or anybody, I've never seen a multi-peril insurance. This is the first time hearing of it. What is multi-peril insurance? And when did we start paying it on behalf of Greenridge House? And do we pay it on behalf of the rest of the city?
I'll answer the part about the city. Are you done?
Well, that's that question. I have one or two more.
Okay. On the part of the city, we have completely different insurance companies. We go through our local government insurance trust for our insurance coverage, and those type we wouldn't have multi-peril insurance in the way that it's labeled for this multifamily.
Well, then
So-
maybe Ms. Potts can speak on behalf of Greenridge House.
Steve can answer the question for the multi-peril. I can answer the question regarding the miscellaneous administrative. Miscellaneous administrative expenses have nothing to do with us. They're all with the property. They're funds for the petty cash. They are renewal for our real page, licenses, our payroll, water cooler, the shred company that we use, key holders that we pay for being emergency lockouts. It's for the service coordinator through the city, our clinical counselor, and uniforms.
I do.
Steve, can you answer the multi-peril? It's been in there, I know, for every year.
Yeah, multi-peril, you can consider that general liability insurance. It's a liability insurance. It's in property management, that's how it's coded to multi-peril insurance, but in all essence, it's general liability.
Thank you. Maybe I've asked the question before and forgotten the answer. I don't remember ever seeing multi-peril insurance. Section 10, real estate tax. It states very clearly a few pages earlier, and it's always been my understanding, the city of Greenbelt owns the property, owns the building. It's a question that I may never have asked in the past. I don't remember asking it. But why is the city of Greenbelt paying real estate tax on a property that's set aside for this purpose or any purpose? We don't pay tax. I don't believe we pay real estate taxes on the municipal building, do we?
We do not, and it is a payment in lieu of taxes that Greenridge House pays to the city, since they are not required to pay real estate taxes. This is a revenue stream for the city of Greenbelt.
So it's not an actual transaction. We're not giving them $100,000 in fiscal year 25 that they're going to give back to us.
No, they give those funds to the city.
I'm sorry?
Those funds come to the city from Greenridge House.
Now, that's interesting. Is that coming out of their contract fee? Where are they getting $100,000 to give to the city in lieu of real estate taxes?
This is funded by the rents collected from the residents. We have a couple payments that are made or expenses that the property has to cover city-related activities. So in the miscellaneous administrative expense, we have two expenses for service coordinator and the professional clinical counselor. These are part of the services that Crystal coordinates for the property. So we do have expenses that we cover, and we cover through the income of the property.
And I think it's important to look at if you look at the total operating expenses line, which is there on page 270, that the overall, it's in fiscal 24, it was actually 164,000 favorable and slightly less favorable in 2025. But so the rents and the money that Greenridge House is bringing in, I think that's what you're referring to at the beginning. The rents that Greenridge House is bringing in is covering all of the costs, the operating costs of Greenridge House.
Ms. Potts, earlier, this is my last.
You're running out of time. Last
Well,
question,
there's been
Mr.
lots of time
Orleans.
spent in answering the questions. This is my last comment. Ms. Potts earlier in response to a question said she didn't know what you were looking at. She was looking at her budget. And maybe what I'm remembering in years past when we would meet over there is that what was distributed was a separate copy of their budget. I frankly don't know for certain, but maybe that's what it was. In any event, I have asked in the past, I don't know whether I should be asking the city manager or I should be asking Community Realty, but I would like to see a copy of the contract, both currently and in the past, between the city and Community Realty. Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments from council? I don't see any hands raised or anything in the Q&A online. I don't know if there's a way to, if you said you had a watch party, anything coming in from them? Nothing coming in from them? Okay.
Thank you for your outstanding service.
Final words you want to leave us with this evening, although hopefully we'll see you again sometime before next budget year if we arrange a tour and a meet and greet.
I will, yes, a tour or a special occasion. I will say that. I do want to say, while I'm here, this is on, I want to thank the Greenbelt Police. They have been awesome to us with everything that has gone on over, few months where we had the homeless and then the break-in and then the car stolen and all that stuff. They have been above and beyond. They come and they check on us during the day. I've given them access cards. They have codes. They know how to get in. They patrol the building in the middle of the night just to make sure everything's okay. It has really made a difference. residents feel safer. I feel safer. I'm glad that they're present and seen. Sometimes they just park and do paperwork in the parking lot, and it's great. Love it. Just thumbs up.
Thank you. Thank you for that compliment. We will
Yeah,
have to make
it's
sure we
awesome.
pass that along.
Yeah,
So
it's
thank you
awesome.
very much.
We'll make sure we pass that along.
Will, thank you.
Last call, and I forgot to ask, does anybody have any information items this evening? I forgot to ask at the beginning.
I kind of do.
So, okay.
And
I think,
and I have one, just a coordinating.
and yeah,
Oh, I think it's the same as Josue, it's just talking about agenda planning.
Yeah.
okay.
But you don't have
Yeah,
to
I
stay.
think, yes. Thank you very much. We
Guys,
really
thanks for
appreciate
being
it.
here.
And continue doing the great work as your residents are telling you in those great survey results. And
Yeah.
Thank you, City Council.
Thanks, Dave.
Mr. Say.
Thank you, Kim.
All right, you're welcome.
See you this time.
I know.
It's
No,
like
no
in the
picture.
abyss somewhere.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
We have a lot of agenda items for Monday's meeting. I believe over 26 items. So there are many items on there that have the potential of taking a really long time. For example, the whole meeting could be about the charter review proposal. And I said in my email that I sent out to council earlier, I suggested that one way we can address that item is we introduce it and schedule a work session or just move it directly to a work session. Of the other items that I identify in my email, there are things that I think there's a sense of urgency. The bus, there's 2 buses that are being shipped to a dealer. One of those buses has already been sold. So if we want a shot at that second bus, we will need council's authorization to pursue it, and they won't hold it for us. It's going to be one of those things. Whoever delivers the purchase order. So I understand that this is an important matter to address for citizens and the Greenridge House, and we're trying to be proactive about this. It's not quite what council tasked us with the electric bus, but there isn't a 15-passenger bus. There isn't one in the market that's been tested. We did find shuttles. We found EV shuttles, but the shuttle would not fit our need. The closest we could find is a 5-passenger, 1 wheelchair and driver shuttle, and that quite doesn't have the capacity for what we need. So, right. So this 15-passenger bus shuttle is the best that we can do, and it's right within that price point that council was thinking. The council had set aside 120,000. This is 125. We can make up the 5,000 with other ARPA money. We have the police radios that can be pushed off to a later meeting. The license plate readers, that is a 6-month rollout period. So it'll be a matter of when do we want to have these license plate readers cameras up and running. If we want to have them by the end of the calendar year, we'll probably need to get authorization from council by June to be able to start that procurement process and roll that out. And there are numerous other items on the agenda. So I welcome the feedback. We want to make sure that the meeting is fruitful.
Yeah. I just want to say thank you for responding, because I did email you and say, hey, this meeting looks long and I'm concerned. So I appreciate that you responded, and I didn't respond because I just kind of figured we would talk about it tonight, and that would be better because we're talking about it in an open meeting. But I mean, for me in general, when I look at the agenda, like I would like to see us do things like the charter review and stuff like, I mean, I feel like that's better done in a work session where we are dedicated to just talking about it. Where our meetings, we're just trying to move through the business of council, like the legislation, approving, approving costs and contracts and things like that. And I would like to see us move more in that direction with our work sessions, because I feel like that will just make our meetings a little more productive, and it won't feel rushed. It'll feel like we have plenty of time to talk about these things. So I would like to see us move that to a work session. And I wish we had time to have a work session on the council goals, but I know that we're strapped for time with that, because we need to have that done by the time we do the budget.
We would like that. Certainly it's this is a council item. So if you want to have a special meeting on it, that's entirely up to you.
I mean, I just
It will
think
make
for
our
me, the
lives easier.
idea of us actually just being able to talk about things without having all these other items as well, like we can really focus on stuff.
And I think to speak to the council goals item, I mean, that was the document that basically Danielle prepared based on, so it's not particularly anything new. It was taking all the things we talked about in the retreat and that follow-up work session. And I think the hope was that, yes, on Monday, we introduce that and get it out there, and then we may do final approval on the May 29th meeting. So not so much discussion on Monday, but just get it out there, get it out to the public so that there's some time for review. And I know I know certainly when I spoke to Emmett about it last night, he was not prepared to approve it on Monday regardless. Right. But I think it's important to get it out there with enough time for people to look at it and give us feedback on it.
I mean, I certainly support that too. I think it would be hard for us to have a council discussion about it though, just because it's such a full night.
Yes, and I think that
I went through the document and Danielle and I talked about it. I support it, but I want to make sure that we're able to, as a council.
And the idea is not that there's not particularly any surprises in there. It's all things we talked about. It's just trying to collate it into a single document that's actually useful to work from.
I just anticipate a robust.
Yes, well, and so I think we just need to try to prepare to not to keep that contained for Monday. It's an introduction, and then plan on it being on May 29th. Okay. And as far as the Visualize 2050, that's one that I put on there, and that does need to be on Monday. So this is the vote of the Transportation Planning Board on that document is Wednesday. And I want to, and I still need to work up the background material, but that is something that I think is really important to get council feedback on before I go down to the TPB on Wednesday and vote on behalf of Greenbelt on that. Now, it sounds like I don't know. It sounds like the departments of transportation tend to have more weight than the municipalities, so I'm not sure how much of a difference in the grand scheme of things one municipality's vote is, but I don't feel comfortable taking down and making that vote until I have talked to all of you and briefed you a little bit on it. But I'm hoping that doesn't have to be a lengthy conversation. So that's why that one is on there for Monday, and that one definitely needs to stay on Monday. And I will have more information for you to put in the packet on Friday. I just need to work that up and get that to Shania. And then I think Terry sent me a little bit of information. I think the planning department has looked in it a little bit. Rodney, you have a comment?
Well, a little bit on the Transportation Planning Board, the voting procedure is that they have a weighted voting system. So the transportation departments have much more weight than the municipalities have. So it's it's
I understand that.
It's a difficult situation.
Yeah.
So it's important that that we're independent and don't let them walk all over us.
Well, and that's exactly, Rodney, why I want to talk to everybody about it, because even if the municipalities may be in the end outweighed by the departments of transportation because of the way the weighting works, I feel more comfortable.
Not just the Department of Transportation, but the larger municipalities, then they have, the whole thing is kind of slanted actually. So,
well,
yeah.
I want to get the support of my colleagues and talked about it before I have to go down and vote. And this is,
And I don't want this. I don't want it to seem like I'm trying to move anyone's stuff off the agenda. I just want to make sure that we are using our time really well and that we're not locking ourselves into a meeting that's going to be 4 hours long, and that we're not going to be a productive council at the end of that, because your brain can only could absorb so much information in a certain amount of time, and I don't want to feel like the things at the top of the agenda are getting good attention and the things at the bottom of the agenda are not, because we're all tired. So that's why I brought it up. So I appreciate that you made the agenda. I appreciate you sending it out. I really do appreciate that, and I appreciate this conversation.
I do agree with you. It is, and I think to go number 19. I don't know. This will take time to discuss. The charter review needs to be taken off, I'm sure, because that will take a long time. That should be a work session by itself.
But is it worth,
everything else-
introducing it, but just not having discussion of it?
Well, you can, but I'm just out of experience. I'm saying when you introduce it, people want to talk about it. Some people want to, make their feelings heard about it. So I don't know how that's going to go. I'm just saying, but I think the things that we need to have on there is definitely the bus, getting that authorized, getting the tag readers, everything that you need to operate swiftly and quickly. That needs to stay on there, and there shouldn't be a long discussion because everything that's on there we already talked about, and we all kind of we knew this is coming.
Exactly. So we can schedule a work session for the charter review so that publicly we don't have to introduce it in the meeting to schedule the work session, right? So I would be in favor of making sure we give it the attention and the time that it needs to have it in its own work session. So I would agree with that.
I think one thing to think about in regards to that is one of the challenges with that is that if we usually the information about a work session doesn't come out until the Friday before the work session. So that means that unless we make a point of getting it out there well in advance of the work session, that's the one thing, that's the one advantage of having it on a regular meeting earlier, is that it gets out there sooner rather than just right before the work session where it's going to be discussed. But there's maybe a way we can do that without putting it on the meeting agenda for Monday. Rodney?
Yeah, I just want to say that I am not in favor of putting it up for first reading before we go to a work session. I think issues that important should always go to a work session first, because that's what's considerate of the public. When we just go and put something on all of a sudden, that kind of turns the public off because they think, well, this is fait accompli. Why should I even bother going out to a meeting or discussing it or everything else? It doesn't. It's not friendly to our constituents, and we need to be. We need to, think seriously about everything that we do here, and that way the public can have more input. And maybe we'll get more participation because people will think that their what they have to say means something. So that's my opinion. Thank you.
If there's a way to get it out and publicly accessible further in advance of a work session, I think that sort of solves the issue. Yeah, rather than just the Friday before. I think that solves that issue. Yeah.
Different topic, though. It's okay?
Oh, yeah, well, let me, and then I just want to I want to give a shout out to Danielle who put this document together. Thank you very much for doing that. That takes a lot of time. That's not my forte. I don't have the patience and the focus to do a document like that. So thank you very much. I appreciate and reaching out and trying to get input and everything. And I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I guess
Second that.
I just want to make sure, to that point, I want to make sure everybody's comfortable with, because the intent of the council goals is simply to be a report out of what happened at the retreat, the part 1 and part 2 of it. So I want to make sure that I have captured the entire council's thoughts and things that we had written all over the board. So if there are things missing, I want to make sure that that's captured in there. So if that requires additional time for people to make sure that they've looked at it and that their opinions and thoughts are captured in that document, then it may make sense to move that to a later time.
At least for approval, yeah.
Correct.
And I think it's things from the retreat, but also things that have come up in other work sessions, especially in the process of the budget work session. I think some of the things that are in there are things that have come out through this budget process, but it's not anything that is new.
It is not anything that it's new, and it's also information that each one of us have gathered in talking to residents. And all of the different events and activities. And so sometimes there are some people that go to some events that don't go to others. And so we want to make sure that we've also captured that type of information in this document as well.
Jenny, did you have another information? I don't know, was this?
I just wanted to say, just, I know that we're going to move on from this, but as far as the agenda for our next meeting goes, I think, Josue, you had several suggestions of things that we could move, and I think those were good suggestions. Like you had talked about the stuff that needed to be on there. We all saw that email, and I think that's probably right to try and keep us and to Mr. Roberts' point about people being engaged, I think if we can keep our meetings a little more of a manageable time, people will be more engaged because they won't feel like they either have to come to a meeting that's going to be 3 hours long in order to see the item that they're interested in, or like it'll just, I feel like the meetings will be more accessible if we try to hem them in and try to maybe keep them at like 2 hours. I think because I think that's still a pretty long meeting. So anyway, that's it. That's my point, and I do appreciate Josue like responding and trying to come up with solutions. I really appreciate that.
Ms. Orleans, or Bertha, you had something you want to say?
So much. I'm looking for guidance on how to bring some information to you in terms of the budget screen that we usually go over on May 15th. So there is a request from the theater to raise their contribution from $50,000 to $150,000. You did not instruct me to put that on the budget screen, and so just
I think there was I don't think there was I don't think there was consensus on that one.
okay. So it should not be on the budget. I should not bring it forward.
And Bertha and I have been discussing, we want to be prepared for what if council was to honor that request. And so we're doing the work on our end. What will we need to adjust on the expense side to make sure that we free up the money should council want to make that request. So that's part of Bertha's request is if the expectation is that council is going to consider 150, well, we need to be ready to say how we're going to pay for that 150. Now, so we are working on what an adjusted contribution based on inflation adjustment will be. So we're working those numbers. We have a figure in mind. I don't know if it would be appropriate to
wait until the 15th.
Yes.
But I think it would. I would appreciate seeing that inflation adjustment number on the 15th, as rather than their full. I don't think there's consensus on increasing their allocation a full 100,000.
It's a lot.
That's a big increase.
That's a big number, right?
And actually, that reminds me, another one I would also like to add to the list is we talked briefly. It came up when we were talking about that one-time refugee assistance program money that I think it would. I like the idea of some of the direct food assistance because I know we had to cut that back a little bit. So I would be in favor, and I don't know that I have a number in mind in terms of if it was it was direct assistance in one way and now it's direct assistance in a different way. I don't know that I have a number in mind. If anybody else has a number in mind, Rodney.
I don't have a number in mind, but what I have to say is that I think this whole discussion is wrong because the staff is trying to get direction at a meeting where we don't give direction. We don't take votes, and we shouldn't be essentially, you're asking us to vote tonight whether that should be on there.
No, we're requesting that it be added to the list for discussion at the next work session.
Well, I'm talking about the 150,000 for the theater. That was a request. Should we put this on or not? And we don't take votes.
We're not voting. We're not voting.
Well, but staff is trying to.
They're just kind of feeling
staff
out
is
what
trying to
what the
interpret
temperatures on that,
what
if
we
she has to
think on
prepare
this
for that.
issue.
Yeah,
And that's as good as a vote to me. It's too close. It's too close to a vote for comfort. Put it that way.
If any
shouldn't be
individual council
decided right
member
here
would,
and now.
if any individual council member would like to see that additional 100,000 for the Greenbelt Cinema, that can be added to the list for discussion. But I didn't hear anyone jumping up to say that. I think we're giving instructions. This is the final budget work session before the final before the final, the penultimate budget work session. So I think this is the appropriate time to
Closest one to the
closest one,
finish
so that so that staff is prepared for the things that we want to see and discuss next Wednesday at the final work session. So we're not taking a vote. We're adding things to the list for discussion for next Wednesday's final work session.
Checking.
We're not taking action. We're asking staff to prepare information.
Can I ask a procedural question actually on that? We never actually discussed the funding increase. The council did not discuss that funding increase. Like it wasn't, I mean, there
That's
was no
correct.
consensus, but there was no conversation. So we can't have consensus without conversation. So my question was just a procedural question is how we handle things like that. Like when there's, while we're working on the budget, how do we handle procedurally things like that so that we are discussing it? Because it is something I think that merits a discussion, and we just never had it. And when do we have that? That's
Yeah, that would be next week.
And then anyone can bring it up and say, oh, I would like to see that, but you need to have the majority in order to actually be put down on the paper.
So procedurally, to answer that question, I'm usually instructed by someone on council to say add it. And what I'm saying is I did not get that instruction, but it was a request.
Normally, the majority of if you have majority of council, then it goes down on paper. Otherwise, it will not make it on paper.
But that is, the discussion happens, the final discussion happens next Wednesday, and then we vote on it, and that's where if individual council members want to vote against any particular change, they can do so. But so, we're not making decisions now because the vote doesn't happen until a regular meeting. But what we're doing is allowing staff to be prepared for the final discussion in next week's work session in preparation for preparing the final budget for us to vote on.
anyone, you don't have to have a majority of people just to request it to be up for discussion.
I think in the past, it's generally been, I mean, we don't have most people who have been here a long time, but in the past, it was often just one council member that said, I wanted to see that on the final list to discuss.
Okay, I'm just trying to get clarity on that.
Person and you had several members, then it just didn't get on it because.
Right, but discussing it doesn't mean that it's now part of the budget.
Discuss it. I mean, you can.
No, it just means that it's part
Got
of the
it.
list
Okay.
to discuss in the final budget work session next week. And I think, so I think food distribution, but I don't necessarily have a number in mind.
I think that amounts because it is already in part of the miscellaneous, the grants portion. It could just be moved to the different line. It's already budgeted.
I thought there's already something
We have
somewhere.
the proposed budget includes covering the food subsidies for our food distribution, the additional food that we buy. There are other food distribution programs that we give money to, Restoration Church,
So I think, right?
St. Hughes, yes. So we give those funding. That is not part of our operating budget. Now, we will continue to support those programs through the opera money because that's how they're currently funded. And we'll do that until the funding runs out. Mm-hmm.
So then it sounds like that $20,000 should be on the list as well for discussion, or?
Yeah, I think that for discussion of how to allocate that, and my proposal is that we discuss putting it into direct food subsidies.
And for clarity, the clarification, that 20,000 is already in the budget. So
Yes.
it's just where in that line it is.
It would just be moving it from where it is because the refugee committee applied for 5,000 separately.
Correct. So
Yeah.
so that's not going to be a change in the numbers.
Jenny, you had another information item? Or was it just this one? Okay, okay. Mr. Erlings?
Thank you. Two things very quickly. At TPB, if MDOT is supported by VDOT, and it virtually always is, and vice versa, and also supported by DDOT, there's, as I understand the way to vote, there's virtually no way, even if all the other jurisdictions voted opposite. However, I think this forthcoming vote, it's been suggested by some of the folks from the District of Columbia that DDOT may not be supporting necessarily MDOT on this vote. And it may well be that several of the intermediary jurisdictions, counties, Montgomery and Prince George's, may not be supporting MDOT on this. So where it's crucial to overcome Virginia DOT and Maryland DOT is to have the municipalities vote in the appropriate way in order to defeat MDOT and 270 and the South Side bus study actuality rather than rail. It seems to me I've gleaned that one council member, and I think it was Councilmember McKinney, has done some good work in response to the vision session and some further discussion, and that's been shared with other members of council. Fine, don't object with that. I do object if that's also not shared with the public on Monday when it will be discussed at length. And one member of council made a reference to having all of you seen an email, and I'm guessing it's related to the general discussion of the length of meetings or that which should be talked about in regular meetings. I would hope that also is available on Monday night as a premise for whatever discussion does occur. Thank you.
In answer to your second question, Mr. Orleans, we have basically covered everything that was in that email in this discussion just now, in terms of the items on the budget and what can be postponed from Monday or not. So that information from that email is now in the public record because we just talked about it.
All right.
Anything else?
Okay.
Then let's wrap it up. Have a good evening, everybody.
Night, thank you.